fantastic event and a great session by Siggy as well. So yeah, connected from Sweden here. It's 9:30, late morning here. We have 20 degrees outside, sunny. That's not so usual at this time. I would say it was a late summer here in Sweden. In about 4 or 5 months, we will have snow on the ground. So that's how it is on my side. So my name is Anders Olsson. I work as security advisor at a company called OneWin. We have been on the market since 2008, working only with Microsoft solutions, mostly. I've been working with Microsoft security solutions since the start. I've been working in the market within 20 years. Have been an MVP for 14 years now, starting in the Microsoft Forefront area at the start. 14 years ago, and I followed the journey into the cloud solutions and so on, working mostly with the Purview stuff, actually. But we have a 24/7 that managed detection and response team working with all these stuff and monitoring these for our customers. So that is actually what we going to discuss during this session, how we can work with all these solutions and combine these. Let's see if I get my clicker to work as well. Yeah, it's working. But before we kick this off, let's take some background as well. I don't know the average of age during this audience, but some of you may have been starting working with computers when it looked like this. It's not me in the picture, but it was around that age I started to look at computers. When I started to work with computers at work, it looks more like this. I don't know if some of you remember and started to work during that time when you have desktops at the office, the large screen. A good thing or a bad thing when you could go to work, do your work, and then just go home again. It was a good thing with that. You couldn't bring the work home. And another different around 20 years ago, that all of functions, systems, and information, it was stored in our company. Hopefully in a locked server room somewhere, and we had control of everything, and we thought that we had control of everything. And if we compare and look at how we are working today, first of all, we can work from everywhere, from all kind of different devices. I'm using iPhone, I get a Mac device, I get a Windows device, I get all kind of devices. And I mean, we have had a hard time during COVID, for example. That also started a new trend. I think most of you, today it's Saturday, but I think most of you spend some time working from home, for example. So this means that we have employees working from everywhere in the world. I know people that have moved to another country and continue to work with the company, working from home, for example. And with that, we not only have employees all around the world, we also have information in all kind of services. For the company that haven't got 100 control of the devices, I mean, if you have iOS devices, they will be backed up into iCloud, for example, which means that you have company information in a third-party service. And that is actually the case for all companies, I would say, regardless of what kind of regulations and policies you have within the company, there will be company data stored in all kind of locations. And if we also look at the threats that's going out there for all those criminal organizations, I guess that everyone here knows about ransomware and knows what that is. What we have seen nowadays in the latest years as well, is what is called the double extortions. Basically, because a normal ransomware, they take everything, all the information. Maybe they found some information in iCloud or Dropbox, what do I know? They encrypt everything and they require ransom to get this information back. But since we are getting better and better to have backup of our information, we have a backup of systems that we can bring online and so on, and continue to work, we say no to paying a ransom. So that's a good thing. But what they are doing right now is that they're starting with a new ransom. That's why it's called double extortions. If you don't give me money, I will leak your sensitive data. That's harm the reputation of the company. It could be devastating to a personal industry, for example, or it will break laws. Yeah, I'm connected from Sweden. You know, GDPR, for example, it's a really big thing here. So you break the laws and regulations when information is leaked, for example. We have a lot of criminal organizations. One group is the Akira group. They had done a lot of attacks for companies and industries and organizations here in Sweden, and they not only taking the information, they also do something more. They announce it in advance. This is from Darknet, for example. They announced that this was a Swedish organization that was hacked in the beginning of this year. They took a lot of confidential documents and things, and they announced during this date, we will leak all this data to trigger that organizations to pay the ransom. So we see a lot of these attacks right now. And we also see a new pattern based on how these attacks are being performed. If you go back again, yeah, when I started in the industry within IT security for 20 years ago, there was a lot of working with antivirus solutions. I don't think that Microsoft had an antivirus during back then. I started to work with F-Secure for 22 years ago, something. And then with the Microsoft investment within security, I started to work with the Microsoft solutions. But yeah, regardless, for 20 years ago, we worked a lot with antivirus tools, firewalls. I worked a lot with threat management gateway, the ISA server from Microsoft back then. Because a lot of these attacks was performed by hacking tools, malicious software, and things to, tools to attack the environment. But since our security solutions are getting better and better, this is a hard thing to do during a target attack. So if we look at how the targeted attacks are looking right now, it's more about take control over one account, one device. They can take over that. Be in the background. Don't make that so much noise. Using built-in tools within those devices that have been hijacked. For example, if you're hijacking a Linux device, there's a lot of good things to use. But even for a Windows device, if someone getting control of my Windows device, act in the background in my context, why not use PowerShell, VME and stuff to act in the background to go under the radar of all the security solutions? So this means to be able to have the possibility to detect those threats, we need a new way of identifying these threats. And I love this, that we have a day of talking about both the Defender stuff and the Purview stuff. It's a really good thing. I will add the Entra as well to this. But if we look at some of the security components that we have from Microsoft, so I will discuss a couple of them that we will see how we can combine and use. So what are these components have in common? We have, Entra, the Azure AD. That was previously known as the Azure AD Identity Protection. Nowadays called the Microsoft Entra ID Protection instead. We also have the what's called ATA, when Microsoft bought that solution for a lot of years ago. We have what's today called Microsoft Defender for Identity. And we also have what is not only an antivirus or anti-malware solution. We have the Defender for Endpoints to manage our devices, not only the Windows or Mac, only iOS and stuff, more of the EDR system. And also, we get the whole Purview stack with the Purview Information Protection Suite. What are these all components have in common? They are all triggering and logging risky activities. They could all detect abnormal behavior, which is exactly what we need to detect if someone have taken ownership of my account or device and act in the background. So if you're starting with a quick summary, I guess that all of you are working with these components already, but there is some news with all these as well. If we're starting with the Entra ID protection, for example, It's using the Azure ID, the Entra ID, to look at the behavior. How do we sign in? Which time do we sign in? From where do we sign in? And also calculate if we have a new behavior during the sign-in. Not only if you connected from a new IP and so on. I mean, the latest news that they are using and collecting all the verified threat actors' identities, meaning that Microsoft and all the vendors that working together with Microsoft are collecting and seeing, okay, where do we see attacks from? The real attacks are going on right now. From what IPs, from what devices are they connecting? And they're using all that trillions of signals to detect if you have a new behavior during my sign-in. To all services that we have connected to Entra. And that would be the case even when we are connecting to the local system with help of the Defender identity. It was known as ATA since before. It's monitoring the domain controllers. And nowadays also the ADF solution. If you're using ADFS as an identity provider, you shouldn't do that, but that's another question. But it's monitoring the ADFS solution. It's monitoring the ADCS solution, and it looks also for new behavior. During what time are you coming to work? When do you connect your computer? To what systems are you connecting? To what file servers are you working? And it could also trigger if you see a new type of behavior. Or suddenly started to work at night. Yeah, I connected this. It's Saturday. Normally, I'm not at the office on Saturdays, but yeah, that could be one new behavior, for example, when I connect into the on-premises solutions. And with help of the local Active Directory, we see new behavior with help of Defender identity. And then we have the control. I mean, we talk about zero trust. And again, we are connecting from all kind of locations. Most of you maybe spend most of the time working from home. Then we have also the Defender for endpoint monitoring or devices. Not only monitoring and seeing if you have malicious code on the devices, but also if you have new behavior. Maybe I'm a normal user working mostly with my install app on my machine, the SaaS services that is sanctioned by the service and so on. Suddenly, I'm starting to use PowerShell. Never done that before. Yeah, that's a lie. But regardless, this user never used PowerShell. Suddenly he started to use PowerShell. He connecting with the different commands, he running scripts and so on. Oh, sorry, that was a clicker. And it's also detecting new behavior on the device. Behavior that I haven't even seen before. That's also something that is really good to detect those more targeted attacks. So what about the Purview suite? Yeah, I think we should spend a little bit more time. I mean, from the start, it was a Purview event, so let's go with that as well. If you look at product suite for Purview, I guess that you have mixed feelings around Microsoft renaming products. But yeah, me as well. When all of my customers had get to know what Microsoft Suite 5 compliance was, suddenly, yeah, we renamed the product. Okay. The reason for that was quite clear when I started to translate what does Purview mean? What is Purview? If you translate Purview, it could be translated to extend, for example. And that's, yeah, getting clear. If you look at a solution that could detect sensitive data, could protect sensitive data, and prevent leakage of sensitive data, we not only have information in M365. I mean, I'm connecting from other devices, for example. I have an iPad, I have an iPhone, I have a Mac OS device, I have Windows devices. I'm connected to other cloud services. I have sensitive data, as we talked about in the beginning, sensitive data in other cloud applications, SaaS services, for example. And the reason why they renamed the product is that we need to extend this. So that's why it's make more clear. And what kind of services do we have within Purview that also logging the activities? One issue when it comes to protecting our data and getting control of the information that we have a lot of unstructured data. One thing is to get this under control with classifying information. This has been there for, yeah, we got the RMS solution released for 27 years, I think, today, within the Office package. So I guess everyone in this meeting know that, yeah, we can classify files. We can determine and say this file is public, it's meant to be spread, or this is really sensitive data that we need high protection on, for example. This could be done on files, actually all kind of files with encryption technology and the classification with that, as well as emails, meetings. There is a lot of discussion nowadays on the Copilot integration. So I mean, every information or generation of data made by Copilot from MCT5, if the source material was classified, structured, hopefully that is done, then the end result of Copilot, what you get out of Copilot, is also inherit the classification. Again, the control of, okay, what kind of data do we have? What kind of data are our user connecting to? And again, Purview extends to other materials, not only Office files, it's not only MC5 services. It's also, for example, other Azure services for the Purview integration within Azure workloads, for example. So I'll go quickly around that. But one thing that's also really good when it comes to detection of abnormal behavior is to automatically find sensitive data. It's not only when a user have done their work, that's not that common, when a user have classified a file correctly. We need to find where we have sensitive data and use that as well during the detection. And if we just stay a little bit while on detecting data, we have different states on information. And yeah, common question, yeah, here in Europe, for Sweden, I would say, are you a dog person or a cat person? And personally, I don't have that time to have a dog, so I have cats. I'm a cat person. So we use cats. We have, here's the first one, quite look alike from one of my cats. I have two, not the cat person with 20 cats, but I have two cats. We have data at rest. This means data that we have at rest stored at this USB memory, locally installed or stored on this device in Google Drive, in OneDrive, the email that is on my Exchange mailbox. That's data at rest. As soon as I move a file, if I move a file to USB drive, or if I send that email, or if I share that file, that will be data in transit. And as soon as I'm writing something, I create a new email on my iPhone, for example, it will detect also the data in use. So in all these three different states of information, we could detect sensitive data and use that as a calculation as well. So for example, everyone knows that the new version of the MC5 apps with data in use is not only detecting sensitive data, it also points out where in the document. I really love this because this increases knowledge for our end users. As soon as someone writing a document and maybe would miss the wrong classification of that file, it detects the area of sensitive data. So they can either change the classification of the file, or they can remove the data from that file if it's a public document or something they should share to partner or similar. So, he's talking about everything I know already. Yeah, but let's look into the new portal for Purview, how we detect sensitive data. I hope that everyone have started to look in the new Purview portal instead of using the old compliance portal. It will be enforced in a couple of months, so it's a good idea to start using that. And if we look at the classifiers where we're detecting sensitive data, first of all, what we have for a long time is sensitive information types. These are detection of sensitive data. Microsoft have a lot of pre-built ones that you may use in some cases, but I strongly recommend that you working together with information owners within your company, within the business, and try to create your own ones. Because you need to have detection of sensitive data that you know that you have low false positives. You need to know if it's really sensitive, then you need to find it. So some of these predefined can be used, but I don't recommend to start using them before you have verified what data you have found. What we also had within, I think it was a first machine learning solution within the Purview suite, we had what's called the trainable classifiers. It was really beneficial when I'm working with companies with a large amount of data that we couldn't identify what's unique with that data. Could be everything from industries that have logs and data from a system that's generated. We couldn't find out what is sensitive in those files, but all those together was really sensitive. So by using trainable classifier, we could scan an area and make the solution identify this information automatically. So with this as well, Microsoft done their work. They have, for our help, generating a lot of these detections by themselves. And as you can see, we have agreements here, for example. I mean, agreement, it doesn't look at what information we have in agreement, look at the pattern. How does an agreement look like? And if we look at other predefined, I have some favorites that we should focus on. Yeah, credit reports, it was not the one. We have, here we have it. If we have an hijacked account or device, someone have suddenly getting access in the early stage to something. What do they want to know more? To extend this attack to a totally company takeover. They want to find vulnerabilities in the environment. Accounts or most certain software they can use with vulnerabilities, attack those softwares. And I mean, there's a lot of tools that you can run to scan the network, find vulnerabilities, but we also have security solutions that identify that. So what is really beneficial is to find documentations, IT documentations with list of software or system documentation of all the environment. Here we have a detection of sensitive IT information. What if we can find if someone tried to get access to that information, for example? So if we look at what we're doing when we create those, so when we're looking at and try to work with the false positives here, we can also identify what kind of data do we have, not only to the M3 environment, but also connected services. In the Purview portal, as for today, in the new portal, we can see data that we have in Teams, OneDrive, SharePoint, on-prem, or the Exchange Online mailbox, but even also within the Copilot prompt. Meaning if someone tries to use Copilot to get sensitive data, we will find that here as well. And we can use this kind of way to adjust those classifiers for SITs and so on to get a low false positives on those. But one use case could be if we have sensitive data, we can identify if we have sensitive data in open locations, for example, to be in better control of the data before the attacks happens. And the best thing we can do when we find sensitive data, again, we have information that is moved to iCloud, Dropbox, whatever, is to protect the sensitive data. Because what's happening when we apply RMS protection to files, regardless if that file is stored on a USB drive or in iCloud or Dropbox, there is a log as soon as someone tries to open that file. So with the encryption technology, we encrypt the document, restrict access, but also log if someone tried to open it. And again, it's not only Office files. So I mean, we have the PDF integration. We can even encrypt all kind of files today. And we have Microsoft involved this all the time. It's going really quickly. New GUI within the Teams platform. If I try to access a sensitive project, for example, I get a clear screen. You don't have access to this, but I can request access. And also that is logged. So with this, I think that we have kind of short of time. Data loss prevention. Let's go into that as well. I mean, this is also a solution that I would say the main purpose is to increase knowledge, help the users to, by mistake, not leaking sensitive data. And here we can look at, first of all the devices with the endpoint DLP integrated in the Windows platform. It's following with the Defender for Endpoints signals. We can use it on Mac devices as well. It's coming to more platforms where we can look at what kind of information do we have based on the content in the file, or if it's sensitive by the tags of sensitive labels. And based on that, we can determine if files are being moved to different cloud services, sanctioned or non-sanctioned. So one thing is to make control of what of our cloud services are sanctioned, to detect if we have information being transferred into non-sanctioned services or USB drives. And here we can basically use either the identification of the data itself, going into most of the file types that are text-based. I will show you a quick demo of that as well, but also into pictures. So for example, if we have looking at, we're going through here, we take an example from a device. If I move a business document into Gmail, we can detect that based on the label. If I have a PDF file with sensitive content, try to move that into the Gmail or Dropbox or iCloud or whatever, we could detect that as well. And with the new OCR solution, the optical character recognition solution, we can even look in pictures. So if someone take a screenshot of a sensitive document where we have, based on text within the picture itself, detection of that, we will trigger the same thing. And I strongly recommend that you don't block anything, that you're starting to notify the end users. They can proceed their work if they need to. Maybe they have a partner, customer working with the Google solutions or Dropbox solutions to share information. If you're starting to block the end user, they will suddenly starting to use something else called shadow IT. So starting by notifying the end users, but again, we log this, exactly what's happening. If someone proceed here and they move information into a third-party solution or something else, we have a log around it. So if you're looking quickly at the DLP solutions, I mean, we have, first of all, DLP for microservices, for the online exchange, for SharePoint Online, for OneDrive. We got it for Teams, what you're writing in the chat, in the meetings. We have it for devices that we discussed. We have it for instances. It's a new name for Defender for Cloud. All the connected apps that we have done could be used within DLP as well as the on-premises solutions with help of the unified labeling scanner, which mean that we can, for instance, with DLP detect if someone starting to open a new share on a subset of IP addresses that we are using internally with sensitive data. Or it's coming also DLP solution for the on-premises SharePoint if you're using that for information that is not allowed to be stored in the cloud. And with all these solutions, we monitor what's happening. It's a good thing. So some screenshot, this is actually from the classic portal. I guess that most of you are working with that still. We look at the Activity Explorer, for example. Here we can see different patterns of information usage. We can see information going to Dropbox, information going to USB drives, information being shared, information being decrypted, information being reclassified. That is a really good thing, because we have a lot of signals and activities that we can and we should use with custom detections. So what is quite common, I have a lot of organizations where we don't have the managed detection and response. They're doing that by themselves. Most of these large organizations don't have time to act on low risk activities. They're focusing on the mid or high risk incidents or activities. But what if we combine these? Let me take an example. What if we have a really sensitive project going on? I mean, most of the companies, organizations that have classification and sensitive labels implemented, they have, for instance, protection for internal data. That's really good. Make sure that internal data, regardless if it's moved to iCloud, is restricted to only internal employees. But as soon as this information needs to be shared with the customer, with partner, they need to remove the encryption. Nothing wrong with that. That's the daily work that they need to do. Or reclassify the file, put a new protection as well. But we may have some sensitive data that should be more restricted. Let's say that we have a sensitive project. Maybe the project leader can always reclassify this information. He can say, yeah, this is public because we should announce what we are working on for the latest year, for example. Nothing wrong with that. But what if this user suddenly decrypt the file if you see a new behavior? Are he doing this from another country, from a new device we have seen before, from malicious IP, or just behaving in a different way? By using Entra or Defender for Identity, we can see new behavior for this user. And if he, during the same time, are decrypting a document, why don't trigger on that, for example? Because it may not be the same user who are doing it. Maybe it's a hijacked account that are doing this. Or an insider risk. We will not focus on insider risk management, but that's also a good solution. So based on that, I mean, if we go really far with the account, yeah, he will be at risk and we can lock the account, prevent further exfiltration. But what if we only have low risk? Most of you don't have a user or sign-in policy for low risk, right? But we still have the logs and alerts. So by integrating all these things into the central solution, we can use this. So if you connecting the connectors for MIP, for the M6 Defender, we get both activities happening by the MIP solution as well as activities from DLP solution. And of course, you have connected all the Entra and Defender solutions already. So by writing KQL queries, we can customize this, which we have done for a lot of years ago here. One example would be that if we see risky behavior for a user, and within 24 hours, we get alert for the same user because he is decrypting, removes encryption of files, regardless using PowerShell or using the unified labeling client or the native Office clients and removing encryption. We can trigger an alert. We can see exactly what file have been decrypted and for what user, and we can follow the different things that happens here from what client to do further investigation of this client. First of all, verify what was it really the user who did this? Was it someone else? Or was it from a device with something malicious, maybe? And I mean, when it comes to exfiltrations, one would be that he removes encryption, right? Then he needs to get the information out of the system. And again, if we add more and more DLP solutions, starting audit mode, for example, we recommend that. Start an audit first. So you reduce the false positives, then you start notifying. But when you've done that, if someone goes into your device and he move information, let's say the Gmail again, we take a document and move this into Gmail or Dropbox. And again, we shouldn't stop that because maybe that's exactly what they need to do because this part of the organization are working with their partner using Google solutions. Could be the case. So this user are actually moving information into Dropbox. But what if we see patterns on the device? Again, this was Defender for Endpoint triggering. No, this was Endpoint DLP. Sorry for that. But what if we see on the same device, Defender for Endpoint see something else going on during the same time? This could be that Defender for Endpoint suddenly see that PowerShell are being used. So I mentioned an example before. This user never used PowerShell. Let's go some extreme. He tried to invoke Mimikatz. Yeah, that's kind of extreme example. But yeah, you're doing something. He tried to export the registry. He is running script. Maybe it was not the user who moved that file. Maybe it was a script doing things. So with that, we can also write KQL queries, getting all those things by connecting this. And for example, if the device itself have a risk that we also get an alert from when it comes to different DLP solutions. But by combining these, see the same device in this case, we can see exactly in this case. File was uploaded to the cloud from a risky device. We can see what user it was to investigate if the user is malicious in some way. We can see exactly from what device it was to do further investigation on the device. Do we have a device takeover or not? And we can see exactly what file it was that was transferred and evidence of what had happened and also where the file have been moved. And in the same way, by combining this, we can use both Entra identity protection, or ID protection is a new name. We can also use Defender for identity to look at how is the user risk during exfiltration in the same way. So by using the signals for the user itself during exfiltration, do we have any signals around that user that is kind of risky? In that case, we may look into that. Because one signal for one user, yeah, it's normally that, yeah, you coming home from the vacation, you are on vacation or doing something else, yeah, we will see some alerts that you're connecting in a new way, yeah. But if we use more and more signals, in that case, we are more bulletproof that we are finding a real malicious action. So with the risky use, we can do the same thing. Exactly what has happened for what user, what information. And again, I need to show you something else. This is something you can do built in with insider risk management. We will not spend time discussing that because we only have 45 minutes. But I guess that most of you have heard of adaptive DLP, meaning that we have several DLP rules. Auditing, we have notification with override, and we can also have the total block. So adaptive DLP is integrated into insider risk management based on automatic detection of malicious behavior. But you can also do this by yourself. So we can set up DLP rules, one rule for a group that is populated based on risks. So as soon as this user are getting moved to that group based on the risk, apparently, he will be blocked. So again, more and more of these solutions that we have worked with for a lot of years ago are now integrated already in the system. So actually, during I did all these actions just to trigger the signals and show you these examples. And with that, we apparently get an incident directly in Defender. It's do help that you write your own KQLs as well, because this is used in the incidents apparently within Defender as well. So if we take this example, when I did a couple of actions for the same user, for the same device and so on, or actually I used a couple of devices, we can see exactly all the different activities that was happening for this user, this device, as well as the information that was involved in an incident. So really great feature. Just play the text story, see exactly in what schedule that all these action was performed, what has actually happened, what devices, users, SaaS services, and at most information was used. Because again, if you work closely with your business and information owners, what they're interested in is, do we have sensitive data leaked or not? Or what information did they see during this attack? And with this, we have the possibility to actually getting evidence exactly what was used. And also, if we have a hijacked account, let's say that, yeah, this wasn't the user during this period of time. What did he see? What kind of information did he look at during that hijacked time before we reset the account and so on? And I mean, the CEO want to know what information have been leaked. And in that case, if you've done your work, we've built your detection of sensitive data, classifying the information correctly, it's getting really fast to show this. So for example, if you want to look at all the activities for a user, you just go into the activity log. This was used in Microsoft Cloud apps before. It's now integrated in Defender Suite, and we can filter on this user during a period of time. And we then see exactly what file have been viewed, what information have they looked at during this hijacked account, as well as exfiltration attempts as well. So we can see if files have been copied, printed, leaked in some way based on that. And if we add more and more DLP services, we get more insights. This is really good. I will proceed I need to discuss something more. Yeah, we can look in the Purview portal, get activities. Yeah, we go forward here. We need to talk around this as well. Copilot for security. I showed you a couple of KQL queries that we have written by ourselves. But what if you're using Copilot for security? This is a really good solution if you need help to write these KQLs, or if you get a request from the business again. They heard of the incident, they saw that they couldn't connect and so on. And the question will be back that, okay, what kind of data was involved in this incident? So if you're looking at the Copilot for security and connect all these great services, if you go into the sources, we can look at third-party sources, but starting with the Microsoft solutions, make sure they've connected everything. Make sure that Purview is connected as a connector to Copilot for security as well. If it's grayed out and you can't enable it, it's because you haven't enabled the M365 integration into Copilot for security. I strongly recommend that you do this because, again, if you have sensitive data within your M365 environment, that's exactly what you want to list and sort out. So, for example, if we have requests, we heard of hijacked accounts. Do we have confidential data? Yep, write a query. Show me all files that are confidential on these devices that were detected by Defender for Endpoints. It will work sometime. It will write their own KQL query, and it will list all that files for you. So you can share that to the information owners that really care around the information part. So I think, here in Sweden it's 10:12. I think that we had to 1:15. Do you have any questions in the chat? I haven't looked at the questions at all. Yeah, I know that I had 10 minutes and I was on time. Do you have any questions or someone that want to unmute or something? I hope this was useful information that you can use to extend your detection. Does Copilot sit on top of these security suites? Yeah, Copilot for security, there's a lot of Copilot solutions. So depending on what connected services you have added, it will use all these logs and information for all these connected services to support you. And I think there is some more session around Copilot for security as well. So go to that session as well, or look at that session after this event if it's recorded. What is the difference between Purview and Priva? Priva is a component within Purview. Microsoft is releasing, to be honest, there is a lot of customers that have bought a license for Copilot, but bought a license for Copilot, but they are not using the solution. They don't have knowledge how to use it. They don't work within the business to create this and configure this in a good way. So Microsoft are releasing a lot of features to support those organizations to mathematically do things. So Priva and also the insider risk management could generate incidents that are anonymized from the start, because it's not the IT operations work to look at data, but these solutions can create incidents that you can deliver to the information owners, to the data governance part of the organization. So that's a component on Purview. Can the association text be extracted using advanced hunting scripts? Good question. I think it's determined of what DLP solution that is used. If you can use the justification text. Microsoft are working really fast, but not with everything. But there is a lot of more things coming. So determine what the DLP solution is. So justification texts are being used in the advanced hunting as well. But it's, again, determined of what DLP solution that was triggered. And also when it comes to DLP and those incidents, make sure you have configured evidence storage, where that is beneficial. And that's 1:15. I think we have another great speaker coming up. So I hope that you have had a good time during this session. And if you have any question after this, just send me an email. Take care, everyone, and have a great continuous day.